You know those videos on YouTube that are supposed to be strangely satisfying? Well, that's how I describe Vostok Inc., the brand new shoot-'em-up from developer Nosebleed Interactive. There's just something about watching the money in your bank account add up faster than your eye can see that's intoxicating, and knowing that those digits can always speed up made it hard to put down. It's just a shame that the shoot-'em-up action isn't nearly as satisfying as watching the fake money pile up. Vostok Inc. is not like most shooters. At first glance, it looks like a variation on the old arcade game Asteroids. You play a corrupt, narcissistic yuppie out to make as much money as possible. His newest plan is to go planet to planet mining materials and building his empire, which will eventually take him far beyond our solar system and into uncharted territory. The game is split up into two completely different types of games. On one side, you have a straightforward dual-stick shooter where you fly around the solar system, killing aliens and breaking asteroids for moolah. A lot of the action happens in the middle of space, but occasionally you'll get ambushed by a wave of tough enemies that trap you in a small, inescapable room. Defeat these enemies and you'll grab loot and moolah, two things you'll need if you want to grow your corporation. So what do you use this moolah for? Well, that brings us to the other part of the game, which has us establishing a number of businesses on each planet. It starts with you mining for materials, which then leads to you building farms, power stations, real estate, waste processing plants, pharma labs, shopping malls, fast food restaurants, churches, office buildings, and much, much more. You'll even be able to upgrade these buildings, allowing you to add multipliers to each property based on what else you have in your portfolio. The important thing is that everything you build will immediately start funneling money into your bank account. The goal is to build and upgrade enough properties in order to make the money add up faster and faster. This allows you to buy more expensive buildings, which will then pay out even more. And to maximize your profits, you're going to want to do this on all of the planets. It'll eventually get to the point where you're racking up millions, billions, and even quadrillions of dollars every single second. Now, a lot of this game revolves around completing simple missions in order to unlock different kinds of properties, locating the bosses, and then using the wormhole to warp to another galaxy and do the whole thing all over again. It's amazing how much money, even fake money, can motivate you to keep going, especially when you know how easy it is to go from being a measly quadrillionaire to a guy with $1 quintillion. Sure, this comes at the price of destroying the environment, exploiting cheap labor, creating unsafe work conditions, and generally making life worse for everybody. But who cares what the Martians think? The thing you have to know about this game is that the money is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you're flying around space or docked to one of the many planets. That number is always counting up. If you put the control down and take a nap, you'll still be earning that sweet, sweet cash. And that's part of the problem. It's so tempting to leave the game running while you do the dishes, run errands, feed the pets, or work your soul-crushing job. I found that a lot of my playtime was just me sitting on one of the planets watching the money add up, waiting to buy something expensive that'll increase my cash flow by a tiny percentage. But here's the catch. There's no such thing as having enough money. You'll quickly discover that everything starts to cost more the deeper you get. You'll go from creating a mine for only a few dollars to a casino that costs $30 quintillion. The next one will run you 35, and then 45, and then 70 quintillion. It's impossible to stay ahead of the money situation, and there's always that feeling that you need to be earning more. The problem is that this loop becomes repetitive after only a couple of galaxies. There isn't much variety in what you're doing, since you'll end up laying down the same properties and applying the same upgrades on every single planet. The money earning aspect completely overshadows everything else, especially since the shoot-'em-up portions are so bland. I like that each galaxy has its own unique aliens to fight, but there just isn't enough to the combat to keep things interesting. The weapons are boring, the controls are imprecise, the bosses are way too easy, and the upgrades suck. This is what ultimately left me disappointed by Vostok Inc. The game is set up like it wants you to go out and explore the large open world while you're waiting for the money to add up, but the problem is that there's very little to do. For this concept to work, there really needs to be a ton of side quests to take on while the cash accumulates. But instead of going on optional missions, you'll spend most of the game just sitting on a planet, wasting time. The balance is all off. Vostok Inc. is more about real estate development than shoot-'em-up action. While this could have been an interesting new take on the genre, the experience is simply too repetitive for its own good. You're essentially doing the same thing on every planet, and the space combat feels generic and uninspired. Couple this with easy boss fights and long stretches where all you do is wait for the money to add up, and you're left with an interesting experiment that doesn't quite come together. What a shame. Hey, thanks for watching our review. So here's the question of the day. Do you watch those strangely satisfying compilation videos? Or really any compilation videos? Yeah, this really doesn't have anything to do with video games, but I guess I wanted to start the new year by prying into your viewing habits. In other news, we're going to be introducing a brand new series called Review Rewind on Friday that has me reviewing one of my old reviews. It's going to be a lot of fun. I recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.